Hey everyone, my name is Nick, and in this video I'm just going to be making some pretty basic idle animations for my main character here. And I'll be animating the fox and the crow in a later video, and incorporating all three of these characters into the sort of concept trailer that I end up making for the game that I hope to eventually actually develop. So in this case, I'm kind of coming up with three sort of basic idle animations for this character. One is a blink, where she blinks her eyes if you, the player, haven't touched the controls after a certain amount of time. This is pretty standard, you probably find this in a bunch of games. But the second idea I had was a head turn, where the player, or rather the character, just sort of looks around the environment. And the third idea was a slightly fourth wall breaking eyebrow raise, looking directly at the player. So the reason I'm putting this sort of colored rectangle behind the main image of the player is that I need to know the exact width of the eventual sprite itself. Because if I don't know the exact width, then it's going to sort of cause me some trouble later as I'm stacking the layers of the animation. And I'll have to reposition everything, and there'll be some weird jitter as the animation is playing. But if I know the exact width, then I don't have to worry about any of that. So now that I actually have my sort of basic animations set up, I'm going to be switching over to GIMP and using a feature that GIMP has in order to actually make the animations and then export them as GIFs. So eventually they'll be animated within a game engine, but for prototyping purposes, this is a pretty good setup to sort of give you an idea of what the animations will eventually look like. So once you're in GIMP, the basic process is that you open all of the images as layers, and then you make sure everything's stacked up or ordered correctly, and then you export those layers as a GIF. So GIMP has a pretty cool thing built in the sort of filters tab under animation, playback. And then you can actually see what your GIF would look like before you export it, and you can change the timings to make sure everything looks good before you sort of experiment with the exporting. So one of the things that GIMP allows you to do when you're creating your GIF is to actually change the timing of each layer. So instead of having a bunch of duplicate sort of layers to make sure that your image stays still in your GIF, you can actually just change the amount of time any particular layer stays on screen. And you just add that in the name of the layer in milliseconds, and then you can set whatever time you like for each layer individually. So here I am just checking to make sure that the GIF actually looks correct. I just opened it up in a web browser. Blink, there we go. And it looks good, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the next idle animation. Alright, there we go. So I have 3 idle animations that I could choose to sort of use under different circumstances. The blink, we have the head turn, and the sort of eyebrow raise while the character is looking at the camera. So I'm going to be incorporating these into the sort of concept trailer that I make for this game, and I'm going to see what I can do without sort of doing any programming or using a game engine. So since I have a background in web development, I might try to do some basic animation and stuff like that within a web browser, and then sort of record my screen at full screen. But otherwise, I'm going to keep it pretty basic and see what I can do with what I've made so far. So that's it for this video. I will be animating the other characters and putting everything together relatively soon. And I hope you liked it, and if you did like it, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.